First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. It's 5 in the afternoon. Everyone want to go to get a spritz, so I will be short and simple. Maybe if the facilitator is okay, I will make some questions to the others. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. I didn't plan it. I decided now, so let's see what comes up.
Okay.
So I'm Sabrina Fontanella. I'm a PhD student at Sapienza of Rome. I delivered this research with some colleagues from Sapienza and with some other colleagues from the University of Udine. They actually the university I come from for my bachelor and the masters. So, as was presented by our facilitator, the main topic is active learning for circular economy in business. Actually, active learning and circular economy are the main points of my research. Active learning is more specifically business games, but we're gonna see it through the presentation. So, it does. Very good. Okay, now I handle it. Perfect. Okay, this is gonna be a short and simple presentation. We are gonna go through introduction, theoretical background, methodology, results, and conclusion, kind of like every presentation we saw in this event. So. Starting with the main point of our research was to wait. That is not my presentation. But that's the last one. That's the old one. Sorry, wait a second. This is the one. Vado a riprendere la chiavetta. Improvviso.
No, vedi la chiavetta. Strano, però, no, vabbè.
No, forse non ho salvato, non si è salvato. Sorry, technical problem.
Okay.
The background, I changed my presentation this morning. So everyone, conference helper were so nice to change my presentation live. Let's see, if not, I improvise. Not a problem. Show must go on. È uguale? È uguale.
Abbiamo da qui, ma no, adesso. Questo però 958 con quella forse quello è il PDS.
Bravo, più buono. Nel senso che scritte qualcosa. Vai. No, it's okay. I can improvise. It's not a problem. Because I will improvise a little bit, so let's see. I don't know what's happened to my presentation. Change it. Okay, so where do we start? We start analyzing the needs of sustainability competence. As actually our facilitator said before, maybe there is some students that need this kind of competencies. What are them? European Commission defined them as all those competencies that make people going through modern complexity, mostly sustainable modern complexity. Those are capable to make people more challenging, active in trying to change the society and trying to figure out new solution to old question about sustainability. What do we do with these competences? We try to push them a little bit. Thank you to the business game that we're going to see after in the presentation. How did we decide to? Why we decided to use business game? This kind of sustainable competencies are not making only about knowledge. So I don't know, let's say what is green, what is not, what is a green term, but it's mostly made by skills and attitudes. So how people react and think about sustainable problems. Those kind of competencies can be so fostered not only with formal education, like as what we're doing now, so virtual experience, but also with informal education, such as the business game we're gonna talk about today. These kind of competencies can prepare, as I said before, individuals to find new solutions and makes actually themselves more capable to make themselves question about sustainability problem and looking forward, not only with the situation we have now, but actually trying to figure out a solution and see further in the future. What we try to do with the research, as I said, we decided to opt for a game-based learning that is showing that it's quite efficient in foster this kind of skills because it's experimental and practical. In fact, it makes people makes people asking themselves questions and deliver with many problems and trying to find different solutions. So it's actually a practical experience. It's a simulation of a business. So as you're gonna run a business outside in the market with your own money, in our simulation, you try to own this business, but not with your own money. So it's better. You can learn without losing anything. What we try to do is to analyze which kind of impact can have a business game on some selected skills. What is this business game about? It's industrial symbiosis. I don't know if any of you know what is industrial symbiosis. Did anyone? It's actually a pretty interesting form of business where two industries, let's say two industries, are collaborating together. One is producing normally, and the waste that it's gonna make through the production, that any production make waste, can be sold to the second firm, and the second firm is gonna use this kind of waste as its input. So to make a new product. So if you don't know what industrial symbiosis is, I don't ask you again if you know any kind of industrial symbiosis films, or if you ever imagine this kind of process. Maybe I don't know if some of you work with firms or it's kind of specific field, and maybe can imagine this kind of situation. Basically, what the business game does. The business game forces students to try to create the industrial symbiosis relationship. So this exchange, they take the position of a manager of one of these firms. Some are sellers and some are buyers, and they have to negotiate each other's this kind of exchange. So I have some waste. Do you want mine? How much you're gonna pay? How we're gonna split the cost, the driving cost, the cost of the processing, and many other things. This kind of negotiation happens in turbulent business environments. That is actually the one we are figuring every day in any business. So in this environment, some indicators are changing. So let's say the price of the waste, maybe the average price is €1, and then in the next time it's €2. So how in our negotiation this can have an impact? How we deal with that? How we change our interaction? And they do this kind of negotiation with a goal in mind. Goal is actually one of the most important things in gaming, and gaming in general, but mostly in business games, because make the participant focus, and they have this objective, and they are not thinking about, okay, maybe I am trained, so I have to learn every of the topic we are talking about, or I am evaluated on this. They're just focused on make money. In this situation, they have to make money, but they have to make good money. So they have to balance the environmental path and the economical path. So they have to find the right way to exchange maximum of product, but with the maximum of benefit. Our object is presenting all of this is so to analyze which kind of impact can have this experience on the skills of the students, focusing on the development of the skills I previously mentioned, the sustainable skills. On the other hand, we want to also try to understand if this engaging situation can foster more some kind of skills and knowledge and experience that make actual participants more aware and more capable to deal with some kind of complexity. So what we did after, let's say, create this framework, we start analyzing the literature on the skills, and we find 8 skills that are identified as those skills that are important for sustainable thinking. They go through different areas. They are like system thinking, strategic thinking, future and value. So thinking about the firm, thinking about the future, also the strategy of the company, but are also interpersonal and intrapersonal competencies. So they not only focus on outside, but also inside of the person and the relation that it can be capable to deal with. And of course, there's some problem solving and implemental thinking that are practical skills that are fundamental for business. Those kind of skills were so inserted in a questionnaire, in a survey, that is actually evaluating each of these competences, including a various questions for each of the competence, and make an evaluation using Likert scale from 1 to 5. So 1 is totally disagree, 5 is totally agree. And we decided to put the 3 as a neutral point to make the situation easier for the students. This kind of survey was presented to the student attending the master in business engineering in Sapienza University, the one I'm attending. But important thing to say is that they have sustainable and mostly industrial symbiosis background. So they come from a master that is actually teach them that. So they are quite prepared on the topic. It's not fresh for them. The questionnaire goes through, as I said, any of the skills, and it's a self-evaluation questionnaire. So it's every question is like, okay, I deal with the situation, how I deal with the situation. So maybe one of my colleagues tell me something. I was able to listen carefully. I was able to give them a good feedback. I was able to understand the problem properly, and I was able to find new solutions. So it's a self-assessment kind of questionnaire, and it was delivered right immediately after the game. So they are fresh to the experience. They can actually recollect memories quite easily. So the answer is supposed to be more effective and valuable. So let's go a little bit on the results. Actually, they were quite interesting because they actually performed really a self-assess. So maybe they, of course, give a little more chance on the stuff than necessary, but they performed all quite well. They were actually around, there's also the other, but they performed actually around almost 4 as an average, like they did less than 4 in any category. What is actually interesting in this particular slide is the future thinking. As any survey in the research, numbers doesn't give answers, honestly. Numbers just give more questions. And it's actually very interesting because they performed really, really well in all of the others. There were like around 380, 4, 39, so they were actually overperforming. But in future thinking, we actually see that they were like, they were good, of course, but not so good. It was like 3.4, like a really humble kind of number. We actually can think about what can be the reason why. It actually can be a further research question we can foster. Maybe there's many reasons like age of the students, or maybe the field they are in. It's not asking them to future thinking and so on, but we find it quite interesting. Otherwise, they overperform in intrapersonal skills. Actually, we find it quite, let's say, predictable because as I tell you, the game is pretty interactive. So they are divided in groups, so they have to talk with all the time with the other colleagues, and the game is asking them to negotiate. So they are talking with their sellers or the buyers all the time. So it's pretty interactive, and they have many times they have to deal with this interconnection. So they have many memories to recollect to answer this kind of question. What we found out in the end, that this kind of experience emerged to be quite effective on pushing some skills that we defined as useful for sustainability. Then we also want to underline the fact that this kind of learning can be suitable for sustainable development because it's an engaging experience that gives them not only the ability to foster with to deal with sustainable development and development problems, but it actually gives them some information, some tools about what is industrial symbiosis. In fact, what one of the future research we were thinking about is to deliver this kind of research with students that have no sustainability background. So people that are fresh in industrial symbiosis, and try to understand if this kind of tool can be effective also with them, and in which way. We want to thank you also the participation to Rome Technical that was a supporter of this kind of project. There were actually quite of a long bibliography to do this presentation. I will not go through it because it's not going to take quite long. And I thank you again for being here and listening.